All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning into my channel today. I'm here today with Victoria Sinis from Australia. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I want to thank you for coming on my channel today. I've spoken to a lot of people over the years in regards to the issues of sexual exploitation, pornography, prostitution, social media, academics, authors, activists, other therapists, a variety of people to give a variety of perspectives and opinions on this issue in our culture. And I'm very interested to hear your story, Victoria. Victoria was a recruiter for girls for OnlyFans. So you work at an agency that recruited girls to go on OnlyFans. So for those that may not be familiar with what OnlyFans is, can you fill us in on that and explain what your job was exactly?
Yeah, definitely. So OnlyFans is considered a content creator platform where there's basically no bounds, is I guess the politically correct way to say it. And so OnlyFans is a subscription-based platform. So what will happen is you'll basically have a account that you make, and then you can monetize that account. And then on that account, when people subscribe to you, you can basically put up whatever content you want on that account. So for a lot of people, as we know, they use it for not safe for work content, which is basically porn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a screenshot of the web page. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So
So
just explain if I don't have an account, I'm not going to create one, but just explain what would happen if I were to log in and go and create an account as a user of OnlyFans.
yeah, so yeah, basically you'll log in and your feed, if you scroll down, it looks very similar, I guess you could say, to Instagram. So you would sign up to different people's accounts, and then when you'd scroll down through your feed, you would see all the people that you're subscribed to, and then you would
Mm,
be click through onto their account. And from there, you can either see more full-on content that they have, or you can direct message whoever the person is that you're subscribed to. So then
hmm.
you can one-on-one conversation with them, which is the whole allure of OnlyFans. And then you can try to start like a relationship building in some sort of aspect with the person that you're subscribed to on OnlyFans.
Okay, so I would sign up and then I would be presented with thousands and thousands of women. Let's say I'm looking for women with thousands and thousands of accounts with pictures, and I can go through and sort of pick ones I want to follow.
Yeah. So basically it's either that, or you would have to specifically make sure that you're also following subscribing to people. So it wouldn't be like you jump up on Instagram and there's all of these people there already. You would have
Okay.
to actually click and follow them. So then they come up in your feed. Like with Instagram, you got to follow people so then they come up in your feed.
Okay. And I have to pay to subscribe to access their account, correct?
Some of them, yes. So some of them have paid
Mhm.
accounts and some of them have free accounts. So it just depends on the creator, I guess, on if they have a paid account or a free account. And then how they would monetize the free account is through the chats. That's how you would be able to get people to pay for your content.
Okay. So I would have to pay money to engage in a chat with this person.
Yes. So
Okay.
if
And
you
you're
look,
going to tell us more later about what that actually is, aren't you?
yeah. So
Right.
we can get into that. But yeah, basically
Yeah.
think of it like a platform like Instagram or something like that. You log in, you get to follow people, subscribe to people,
Right.
and from there you're able to see whatever type of content you want.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us what you did as a recruiter, I'm really
Yes.
interested to hear the behind the scene juicy details about this. So yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
basically, an OnlyFans agency, I sort of break it down into three different aspects. So the number one, I guess, goal of an OnlyFans agency is to make sure that you are maintaining the health of girls' OnlyFans accounts. So aspect number one is basically when a girl for the agency I worked at gets to a certain level, they no longer can facilitate the traffic that is on their account. So just say if you have 10,000 subscribers on your OnlyFans, one person cannot sit there and chat with 10,000 people at all different times, different time zones, and
Right.
facilitate the conversations that are having. So they will outsource that. So what they'll do is they will hire
Okay.
an agency. and then the agency will impersonate the girl and then put trained people onto the account. So then they're
Okay.
able to best represent the girl. So that's aspect number one. Then we can dive into it. Aspect number two is marketing. So that was more so what I had come into the business to do. So my role was to be able to go on social media and basically market these girls. The main ones were TikTok and Instagram, but there was also Reddit, Twitter. People started looking into dating apps. You can basically any type of platform, and to market these girls and then funnel all of that traffic through to OnlyFans. So that's aspect number two. And then aspect number three is recruitment. So scouring the internet, looking for specific people and then messaging them in the hopes to either bring them to the agency or to get them to do OnlyFans.
Okay, so you and others like you would go on, say, Instagram, and what are you looking for? Like a certain age bracket, a certain type of post from a person? Like what gets your attention that makes you think, yeah, we want to re try to recruit her?
Yeah, so I had very specific things that I was looking for.
Okay.
When you were on TikTok or Instagram, you were looking for number one, suggestive content. So was someone already posting provocative things? Because if they were, then they either number one already have an OnlyFans, or number two, they'll be more enticed to do OnlyFans. Then from there, for us, we were making sure that they were in a certain following bracket. So if you had like less than 10,000 followers on Instagram, it was probably too hard to make you successful in quotation marks. So,
Okay.
so anywhere from like 50,000 to less than a million is what we were looking for. And then
Oh,
as well, just because you wanted a certain level of notoriety, which meant that you would already have a certain amount of organic traffic that would be coming to OnlyFans. So it made the job a little bit easier, I guess you
right.
could say.
Yeah.
And then from there, you would be looking for how old the girl looked. And so that's like a whole nother thing into how predatory OnlyFans is and how this industry is grooming. But basically, when time went on working at the agency, we saw that the younger the girl was, the better they performed. And so we ended up looking for girls that either looked like, well, yeah, that looked like they were at least fresh 18. Even if they weren't 18, we wanted to make sure that they would probably lie and say that they were 18 because it would make more money.
Okay, so there wasn't a strict procedure that you had or policy in place to verify the age. Did you require that these girls provided proof of their age?
So I guess the default is when you sign up to OnlyFans, you have to give your ID.
Hmm.
So you have to age verify yourself anyways. But unfortunately, some people do lie. They can steal IDs, they can have fake IDs. But yes, you are supposed to make sure that they are age verified, because you need
Yeah.
that to sign up to the platform.
Now you bring up an interesting point, and why do you think that the younger they looked, the more interest they generated?
Are you ready to go down a rabbit hole? So
Oh
basically,
yeah,
yeah,
we're here to go down rabbit holes for sure.
my yeah, I my theory as to why the younger the better, I think it's really multifaceted and it's not a clear cut type of thing. But unfortunately, I think that the hypersexualization of women in our society has potentially desensitized men a little bit. And so I think that men are needing more extreme, more extreme, more extreme, especially if men are being exposed to porn younger. They're so attuned to watching like crazier things. And so I think looking as well at like a middle-aged or an older woman, whatever they want to be, isn't as enticing. It's not as dangerous. It's not as exciting as the innocence of like a fresh young girl.
Hmm.
And so I think that that's why this fantasy is so much stronger because it's more extreme, it's more dangerous. And for some reason, the younger they look, the more they represent innocence and purity. And that
Hmm.
seems to be more appealing in some sort of way.
Yeah.
I think it's like she could live next door to me. She's this young girl, and it plays into this really twisted fantasy, unfortunately, is
Hmm.
my main theory on why the younger the better. And
Right.
then I think as well, unfortunately, with the young girls, I saw this at the agency, the couple girls that were on the younger spectrum,
Mm.
are willing to do a lot more. And I think it's because they don't have that consequence brain yet, or they don't really understand the long-term ramifications of what they're doing, and they're a bit more reckless.
Hmm.
And so then their content is a lot more full on as well. So I think it's kind of both of those that play into each other.
Hmm. Well, and one of the things I see with this, and for those that don't know, I'm a therapist and I work with a lot of men that who are have compulsive sexual behaviors. So they're addicted to porn and
Mm,
other, other sexual behaviors. And it's about access. So,
mm,
if you're 60 and maybe don't have a lot going for you, how else are you going to talk with a cute 19-year-old attractive woman who is going to pay attention to you? You're not going to
mm.
find that. You're just not going to find that, right? And
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
don't even have to be an old, lonely 60-year-old guy. You could just be a nerdy, average looking, overweight,
27-year-old.
balding 27-year-old guy,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think, oh no, sorry. I was just going to say, I think as well that that's where it's really sad that that's what's desired. It's sad that people desire this like transactional, I just want to talk to a hot person and that's what they care about. And they're so fixated on it instead of, looking for compatibility or something like that. And that's why I think as well, porn is just so damaging on so many spectrums. Because even just something as innocent as dating now is just kind of totally out the window because people just see everything as a transaction and they want that hot young girl. They're not looking now
Mm,
substance and value.
100%.
Yeah.
And the story, it gets twisted around in let's just say the guy's brain where the part of his brain that's driving the car is his limbic brain that's seeking reward, let's say, wants a dopamine hit. But he thinks he's getting into a relationship with someone. And over time, I mean, you can probably speak to this, but over time, I think these women, or sorry, the men think that these women are into them or like them, or they have a relationship with these women. And that's kind of sad.
It's so sad. It's disturbing as well. There's one specific case I can think of at the agency where there was a gentleman who would literally message one of the girls every single day. And it was like, "Hi, honey, I love you. I've been thinking of you."
Mm,
And it crossed boundaries as well, where this gentleman would actually um like know when this woman's children's birthdays were. And he would send them like gifts. And I'm like, this is twisted. Like there was such a boundary crossed between like sub and OnlyFans creator that yeah, she was playing into this so much because of how much money she was getting off him. And then yeah, this guy was sending gifts to her kids. And I'm like, that's and he was like called uncle or something like that, or one of mum's like good friends that's sending you presents. And I'm like, yeah, like it can get really deranged, definitely. And then again, you probably lack the capacity because you're so brainwashed into being so emotionally connected to this OnlyFans creator that you're not going to go out in public and actually try to socialize normally because you have this weird internet relationship.
100%. And what jumps to mind too right now is that this is a sexual predator's wet dream.
Mm,
Like if you're an actual, because there's a certain percentage of men, and this goes for paying for sex or going on these websites. There's a certain percentage of men because there's a certain percentage of the population that are marked by what we would call the dark triad of personality traits, which is narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. And there's actually a
yeah.
fourth trait now they've added. This is from the clinical literature on this sadism. Okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you're an OnlyFans content creator and you're a woman and you have 10,000 or 100,000 followers, 100 of them at least are narcissistic, sociopathic, Machiavellian, sadistic predators right off the bat. You're
It's
just going to get that.
terrifying. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
And, and,
terrifying.
and I'm
Hmm.
going to guess, I don't have research to quote this, but let's 10x that. okay, because of what you would basically call like a bias pre-selection group of people that are going to be drawn. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're just
Mm.
walking down the street, yeah, it's one out of 10,000 people maybe. But when you're creating a platform that's literally marketing and selling and attracting the very thing that those specific kind of people are seeking, you're going to have a disproportionate amount of those types of people on those sites. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, that makes total sense.
Right.
And it makes sense as well, just thinking about yeah, just things that I saw, and I found these the more disturbing. And so on OnlyFans, you can send through to the girl, it's called a custom request. And so that's
Mm,
basically asking them to do something that you want tailor-made for you. And so the ones that would disturb me the most were these ones that were really outside the box. And it makes so much sense what you're saying now. There was one gentleman who wanted one of the girls to blow up balloons to a certain size, wear very specific shoes, and stomp on the balloons. And I'm just like, and people thought it was funny. And I was like, no, this person's paying a decent amount of money to do that. This isn't a joke. This is some weird, twisted, like this person enjoys that sexually. Like that's weird. And then there's another one that really has been implanted in my brain as well. Was this gentleman, well, this guy gentleman, anyways, asked one of the girls um, to get another person in the video. And can you get that person to have their hands recreated like they're on a ledge? And they look like they're going to fall, but they in real life they don't have to. And you zoom up and you're stepping on his fingers in the
hmm
hope he'll fall. And so it shows that he's in danger. And I
hmm
was like, whoa, like,
hmm
so what you're saying makes it really makes a lot of sense because there was stuff that you would see on the platform on the behind the scenes of these conversations, and you're like, this is twisted. This isn't like,
hmm
you oh, I just want to see some whatever. Like, it was really weird stuff that I was like, it made me so, well, yeah, I still speak about it now. Like, it
Yeah.
really impacted me for how twisted it was.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to create an opportunity and a forum for every demented, depraved, sick fantasy to act out, you couldn't have done a better job than doing something like this where anyone can sign up. It's not like they give
Mm.
you a psychological test for your mental health.
Yeah, there's no
And then
vetting process.
you're immediately entitled because,
Mm.
I'm paying my subscription fee. So there's a gross sense of entitlement. And then there's the anonymity. So you literally couldn't create a more ideal atmosphere for people to come and act out these fantasies.
Yeah, I love that you said
Mhm.
as well, sense of entitlement. I think that that's a really strong point as well for people that might not necessarily be super well-rounded in their views of OnlyFans and they skew towards the more liberating side of the platform. That is such a really, really strong point that you make that I really agree with that. People think that these girls are in control and that it's my body, my choice, and all this, but you are actually immediately almost a victim as soon as you come onto the platform because of things like this. So you succumb to the pressures of your
Mm,
subs. They already do have a sense of entitlement. You were so correct because they're not coming on there being like, oh, like this girl, I put her on a pedestal and she's so amazing. They're like, no, 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 no. I've paid. I want what I want. You service me because this is a service platform. So these
mhm,
girls have already succumbed to the pressures from their subscribers. And basically, yeah, if you don't service your subscribers, you're not going to make money. And then there's also the pressures from an agency, if you have an agency, because they want you to make money as well.
mhm,
So I think that's just a really good point that you make that it actually isn't this like liberating, freeing sexual expression that you're having
mhm,
because you actually succumb to what these very aggressive tend to be subscribers want. And then also an agency that's pushing for you to do as much as possible to make as much money as possible.
yeah. And, if you let's just think critically about this for half a second about what's going on. So it's the commodification of the being of a person, a
Mm.
human, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, their time, their energy, they're trading that
Mm.
for money. right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, is there like, in your opinion, a certain element of narcissistic women who are, really get into this? And this is not an accusation. It's an
Yeah,
honest
yeah,
question
cool.
because I don't know, right? But I could see how it attracts a certain kind of male personality, how it could also maybe attract a certain kind of female personality that because they were out there, that thrive on attention and validation. And to them, it does feel like power, or they're just very narcissistic and want a lot of attention. What do you think about that?
I think so. I had a great conversation actually with another psychologist who delves into this is just like a friend childhood trauma and stuff. And I was
Right.
asking her this word, narcissist. And I was like,
Hmm.
from what I understand, because it's such a hot word right now,
Yeah, it
I was
is.
it all kind of ties in together. But I was like, a narcissist kind of seems just like a grown-up child, like in an adult body, because a child is like such
Mm.
a true form of a narcissist. Because with a child, everything is about me. It's about,
Hmm.
it's all. And I'm like, so it's kind of like a narcissist. You're not born a narcissist, but you probably just haven't emotionally developed into what an adult is. You still have these childhood tendencies, but then they come out as narcissism.
Narcissism. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're an adult.
Hmm.
And she's like, yeah, basically. And so when I think about these women that are narcissistic in the industry, I don't think it's this traditional what we paint as a narcissist to be like Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Like it's not like
Right.
that.
Right.
It's like a broken little fragile child
Mm.
who's grown up but doesn't have the emotional capacity to be an adult. And so they're
Mm.
trying to find ways to be validated, to feel safe, to feel in control. And
Hmm.
so I think that there are a lot of narcissistic women on the platform, but not in the way that
Not in the
we would.
clinical sense that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a
More,
lot
it's
of,
almost like a traumatic response of maybe never getting their need. Like, because I could totally see
yeah.
a young girl growing up that maybe her dad abandoned her and she never met him, and her mom has to work three jobs and she's hardly ever home, and just really didn't get the attention and love and presence and validation that she needed to develop emotionally healthy, right?
Mm,
And so that leaves her development is stunted, or it leaves a lack of emotional development. It leaves a void there. And then, you learn very quickly in our culture, if you're a female that has been blessed with any sort of genetic giftedness that society deems attractive, you can leverage that very, very quickly to get
mm.
all of the things that you never got. Right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. So
Mm-hmm.
you get rewarded. It's this insidious cycle of,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel good in myself. And so I will
Mm-hmm.
post a picture. Now I feel good. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
more, and it's more. And so I think that honestly, I would be shocked. And like it's not in a mean way to bash these girls down, but I think it's just a
No,
really
I don't
good.
mean it that way either.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point to highlight as well because so many you of like young girls are enticed to do this is that it's not this, yeah, like glamorizing, empowering. It's like, no, 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 no. It'll actually break you more. You're like, you have to be, I think, a little bit broken already to even think to do this. And then when you get into it's like you'll get this high of, oh my gosh, yes. And then you need that high again. You need that high because I'm not making enough money. And so if I'm not making enough money on the platform, that's directly tied to my body, my worth, my value. And so it actually just like with porn, it heightens everything. It actually makes things worse. It's not the solution to the problem. It's actually the poison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. Okay, let's get back to the recruiting stuff again too. Like,
Yes.
walk me through like a week in the life of a recruiter, like what you did, who you talked to, what you said, what was your shtick, what was your, because you're kind of like trying to sell something here and you're trying to make some money too, and you're hustling, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So basically, the day in the life of what it was. So when I came into the agency, as I said, I was doing all of the marketing stuff. So the marketing division was over here. And so it was a startup business. So basically implementing all of the foundations that were needed, the policies and procedures, which was for girls that came onto the platform. They had to have 3 to 5 TikTok accounts, and they needed to have
Three
about
to
three.
five?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is crazy. This is a sidebar, by the way. We can take this out to edit. But I actually have screenshots of everything, Paul. So if you want to put all of this stuff up, I actually have screenshots of like my recruitment message. I have screenshots still
Oh,
of
yes.
requirements.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah, let's
sorry,
get
I
that
just
in
thought
the
of that
show
there.
notes too or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I can flick you through some of that stuff, and it literally says like the requirements, what the girls were to do with TikTok, and then
Mm.
my message. Um, so yeah, basically, with the social media requirements, you would do an onboarding call. So, all right, we'll take it back. We'll pretend like we're outreaching to a girl, and we'll go through the full life cycle of what we
Okay.
did.
Yeah. Yeah. Walk us through it.
So yeah, so basically, you would see a girl on TikTok or Instagram. And so, because the agency that I worked at already had a following on social media, and two of the girls that owned the agency were already big on social media and well known in OnlyFans. So, what you would do is you would find a girl. If you she ticked all the criteria boxes that we said before, you would send her a cold message. So the cold message would either say,
Mm.
"Hey, I saw your OnlyFans. I love your vibe," or "I saw your Instagram. I love your vibe. Have you thought about management, or have you thought about OnlyFans?" It's either one of the two. And then if you really wanted the girl, you wouldn't message them from the agency account. You would get the two girls that were already prominent in the industry in Australia to message them, because it's like, wow, look, this famous
Okay.
girl, it's blah 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 from OnlyFans, like their
Right.
message. So then that's how you would entice them with this cold message. From the cold
Okay.
message, you would want to get the girl on a call as soon as possible. And
Like
so
a
the whole
actual phone call or a
phone call,
Zoom
yeah,
call or
phone call.
phone call.
Yeah.
Okay. So with you,
So this wasn't with me. So there was three owners at the agency, and they were all female. So this outreach part,
all women. So it's women
yeah,
recruiting women.
yeah,
Okay. Interesting.
yeah, which I think is a something that shocks a lot of people. They do think that it's males, but this was a female built agency. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. A lot more sense to me actually, because you got some guy, like who's this creep?
Yeah.
Hey, send me some
Yeah.
pictures. Like what? Get lost, creep. Whereas you have women doing it, there's almost that trust and rapport right from the beginning, right? The credibility.
Correct. Absolutely. And that's what
Mm,
I think is even more sad about it, to be
yeah.
honest, that, especially just like older women should be championing young girls. They should be encouraging young girls, not trying to pull them into this life of, degeneracy and drugs and partying and porn and all of that. And so unfortunately, a lot of girls look up to these older women who are on OnlyFans and who do have big platforms, and they idolize them. And so then that's how they can actually, leverage these girls, groom these girls, and exploit these girls at the end of the day. I saw that specifically with my circumstance. But basically, yeah, so what would happen is you would go from the cold message. There was only one main person at the agency who would do the calls, and it was one of the owners. And so they would just sell them. If you come to our agency, you have this life of luxury. We'll give everything to you on a silver platter. You come to dinners, parties, events, you have a sisterhood. But if you want all of this, if you want this lifestyle, you got to do your OnlyFans. Like that's the soft, implication of it. So you
Mm,
hype the girl up, and because we would have monthly events, big extravagant events. We'd have monthly dinners,
really?
content days. Yeah. So that was the whole allure, and I guess the business model of the agency is, come to us, you have the fast life, you have the elite lifestyle, because there's already a backing financially, and a backing through social media presence. um we could do things like, hire the mansions, have the parties, like, and do all of that. And so we were creating this community of elite lifestyle, of upper echelon. And
Right.
so obviously people want that. They want to come to the $1 million, $2 million houses. They want to come to the private parties. And so
Okay.
that's how we would angle it. And
Wow.
so yeah, and so it was like, let's build a sisterhood, basically.
Mm,
um,
mm.
and so that was what was offered to you in this call. But again, you got to sign up. And so what would happen from there is, if a girl met, so she basically had to make a certain amount of money per month on her OnlyFans as well, for it to be feasible for us to take them on. And then from there,
So
you would do
sorry,
the,
so do they have to already be earning on
sorry,
OnlyFans, or did you take them
yes.
right from scratch all the way up?
Sorry, if they had OnlyFans already,
Yeah.
there were there was like a baseline rule that you had to be earning a certain amount of money per month for us to take you on. Of course, there's exemptions for that. If the girl we thought had a lot of potential, if the girl was just starting up on OnlyFans, but she had a really strong following and she really wanted to do the marketing requirements and she was really pumped and really, then you know what I mean? So it was like a
Hmm.
vibe check as well.
Okay.
So that's why if they didn't have an OnlyFans, you would see again what content are they already posting? Are they more enticed? Then you'll get them on the call. From the call, you'd be able to suss out like, do they seem like they're willing to do the work? Okay, from all of that, yeah, we'll bring them into the agency.
Hmm.
And so from there, you would put them on a marketing call, which was me, and I would sit down and I would get them really pumped for their marketing requirements because my background is in startup businesses, is in creative marketing and all of that. And so we would be like, yep, we're doing like the 3 to 5 TikTok accounts, and you have very specific curated content that you had to reproduce on all these accounts, and it had to be original. So you couldn't take one video and then post it across these accounts.
Okay.
You would have to take fresh videos for every single account. And so
Okay.
we would send you through these videos that you would have to do every single day, and you would have to do at least 3 videos across those accounts. So like
So how
nine
many
videos,
videos a day? Is that 10 or 15 or 20
like
separate videos every day?
truly, yeah. So some
Yeah.
girls were smashing out that much, but a minimum we were looking for is at least 9 fresh videos every day.
7 days a week, 63 videos a week.
Yep. And
Wow.
even in the marketing requirement spiel, it's because we literally have it written down, like you cannot miss a day because it ruins the algorithm because our main goal was virality. We wanted to get you as
Okay.
famous as possible, as quickly as possible on these accounts. Like there was one girl that I think we got to 3.2 million views in like 5 days on a fresh account. And
Wow.
yeah, and it's because if you're pumping all this content and it's getting out to all these people, then how many of those people can you pull in and then funnel them through to your OnlyFans? And so that's why we see this oversaturated TikToks and Instagrams with just this crazy provocative content. A lot of it is curated, tailor-made, and targeted to entice people to go to OnlyFans. Like it's intentional, you know?
Right. So what would be in one of these videos on TikTok that's curated by you?
So basically, we had outsourced someone whose main job was to find trending videos, trending sounds, and trending songs. And so then this person would find the trending videos of the day with all of these requirements that were provocative videos. And then some of them were even just weird trends. So like there was this one that was around circulating last year, and it was like a dead rabbit one. It's like, oh, and then like you lie face down, but like it's so weird. That's what I'm saying. But you would do it.
Hmm. My light went off and I have to so I have to wave. I have a sensor in here.
So you got to do one of these things.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, keep talking. The light will come on.
No, you're fine. Um, and so basically, yeah, the content was always really provocative. Like you had to show a certain amount of skin and all of that to
Hmm.
just bump up, or are we accepting defeat with the light?
No,
Oh,
no, keep going. I'm just gonna move. There we go.
there we go.
Okay.
And yeah, so basically it just had to show as much skin as possible, be super provocative, and then it would be like a trending what else? Basically, if you go on TikTok, anything that's trending right now, truly, it was just
Okay.
more so about like how seductive was the girl being in the video? Was she wearing bikinis? Was there little things that there was like another trend.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you. Okay,
That's
so
okay.
it's a short video, 30 seconds. She's wearing something provocative. There's a trendy song in the background,
Yeah, and she's
and
just
she's
recreating.
like giggling and drinking her smoothie or something, like just silly little
Nude
things
stuff like
like that?
that,
Or okay,
or they would be very specific. So that's what I was going to say. There was another one that was a trend that was around last year. And so it was like this very specific song. And then you had all your makeup like all over your dresser. And then you would have a mirror there. And so you'd pan your phone, like you're panning your phone over all your makeup. But then there's a mirror and it's reflecting you in a little outfit. So it's really subtle and
I
it's really
see. Okay.
so then there
Hmm.
would be stuff like that. And then you would write in the caption, did you notice? And so then people would be like, did I notice? And then they'd
Okay.
want to. So
Okay.
it was stuff like that.
Very cleverly done in the sense of deliberately structuring them in a way to attract attention and get the views and get the shares and stuff like that,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all very intentional. And
Yeah.
so from there, what would happen is you would go from TikTok and then, so just say you find this video and then you're like, oh, I want to see more. I click onto their TikTok and then from TikTok, you'll see that they have an Instagram. So then from Instagram, you'd click onto their Instagram page. And then you'd see all of the reels. So what we would do every single day is we would take all those TikToks, we would convert them into reels, and then we would post them on Instagram. So then you're doubling, like you're recycling that content. So then you can also try and get people from Instagram reels.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so you're hitting both platforms.
Right.
And then in bio, you have a really strong, very obvious link in bio. So then
Right.
you know that as soon as you click onto that, you need it as well. There's like little like things you need a buffer page. So you can't just
Mm-hmm.
have your OnlyFans link in there. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to make sure that when you click on it, that's why something like what are they called? Linktree and all of that are really big
Hey,
right
let's
now.
let's pull one up because we
Yeah.
shared one earlier, remember?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
That's a
I'll
really,
do a
really big.
screen share. I'll do a screen share, and you mentioned that she's one of the more popular Australian
So
OnlyFans people.
she's one of the biggest TikTokers in Australia, one of the biggest, I think the biggest.
2.4 million followers.
Yeah. And this
Okay.
girl is like, it's sad. Like the amount of young girls that idolize and look up to her in Australia is huge. Like her
Yeah.
biggest fan base is young teenage girls.
And it's interesting, like her page is sort of a mix of, I wouldn't say it's overtly sexual. It's more
Mm,
suggestive. It's more of a girl next door, hey, I have a cold, I'm blowing my nose. Here I'm with my
mm,
friends, right? It's sort of, this is curated, definitely, with a mix of like you can just see selfies, other people. I think there's one of a dog. And then about
mm.
every 5 or 6 pictures is a bikini. Uh-huh. Okay. So then we would go, you were saying there's a buffer page. So we'd go here, all my links.
Yep. And
Okay.
then
So that takes you to a different site called
so
All My Links.
yeah,
And then you would click here, right?
yeah.
And
And then
that would
that's where
take you to the OnlyFans. Okay. And then this is a sensitive content. What a great, meaningless, ubiquitous phrase. Sensitive
mm,
content. Okay. And then that takes it. So now we're into, topless with, a little blur on the nipples. And okay, so here's so people can see how this works. For 8.99, 9.99 a month, I can subscribe. And then I will have access to 815 of her posts and 812 videos. Is that right?
yeah.
Okay.
And then you would be able to hypothetically message her directly and
Right.
speak with her.
So there she was there. Okay. And then I'm just curious. So Twitter, you didn't mention Twitter, but I mean, for a lot of people, they don't know Twitter is a huge, huge marketing arm of the porn
Yeah.
industry.
Well, Twitter, Reddit, all of them, because you can post not safe for work content on there. And so it's
Right. Oh, and
so just
here's
say,
an OnlyFans. Here's a link to OnlyFans.
yeah, so
Or,
you can
sorry, I
just
didn't mean to cut you
post
off. Go
whatever
ahead.
you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. You're so
Mm,
fine. But yeah, you can
yeah.
basically post whatever you want. So this is like, again,
Mhm.
way more suggestive. And so if you like put this, oh, it makes me so sad. But this type of
Yeah.
stuff, just another funneling system to get
Yeah.
people OnlyFans.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you could look at this as a young woman and go, wow, this woman makes a lot of money and this is very empowering, but it's no, it's actually degrading and exploitative.
I think it's so sad that when you had a look at the account and for 12 months it was like $54. Like, and I was like,
Mm.
$54, 59.94, sorry.
And
Like,
now it's 9.99.
and at 50% off. So you're saying that your worth is what, like $120 for a year to see your body, like your
See
most
your body.
valuable
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Like, and it just, people don't view it that way. And I think that that's what makes me sad. Like, people don't view that as like you are putting monetary value on your being. There is no other way to go about it. And so,
Well, the thing I'll tell you exactly how the male brain will view this. The male brain sees this as not a person named Anna, but as a commodity and an object that brings a reward, no more, no less. There was an interesting study they did where they showed men pictures of women in bikinis like this
hmm,
and a bag of tools, objects, and the same part of the brain lit up.
wow.
So your brain literally perceives an object. Like yeah, it's a person, but it's not, you don't relate to that as a person. You relate to it as an object that brings a reward. And I saw this. Meaning Anna, reply to DMs on my OnlyFans. And I want you to talk about this because she has 500,000 followers here. And on her OnlyFans, she has, it doesn't show probably because I probably have to log in, but
But yeah, she's got
yeah.
2.4 million
So she
on
must
Instagram.
be really busy because she has to make, 25 videos a day and respond to 500,000 people. So, oh my gosh, how does she do that? Victoria, any idea?
Well, let me tell you. So she would not be the one on the account. Absolutely not. She would
Mm,
maybe reply, maybe, but she would have an agency, 1,000%, that is running her account. And then she would have these things called chatters on her account. So chatters,
chatters.
yes. And so chatters are basically the people typically from third world countries that you hire to put on
Third world
account.
countries, like
So
a
ours would
boiler
be,
room or something, like just a boiler room full of chatters in some like
yeah.
Philippines or something.
Yeah, literally, the Philippines is exactly where we had ours from. So we're traditionally, traditionally, typically, it's like people can actually have houses for them, and that's literally what it is. And they all live in a house, and they all just jump on the internet and they just chat every single day and sell as much content as possible. The chatters that we had didn't have that, but they were from the Philippines, and so you pay them about 1 to 5 USD an hour, and they work 6 to 7 days a week, 12 to 14-hour days. And they just sit there talking to people on OnlyFans, pretending to be the girl. And so, well, we were talking,
Wow.
yeah. And so that's why, as well, people think that they're having this personal connection or relationship with a girl on OnlyFans. But 90% of the time, you're not even talking to the girl. You're talking to someone overseas who's trained to just get as much money from you as possible.
Wow. Okay, so I want to just say that again so people are clear. When you think you're talking to Anna Paul, because she talks to all her DMs, you're probably talking to, you know, some fat, bald, 45-year-old middle-aged Filipino guy on a boiler room in a house in the Philippines.
Yep,
For real.
basically. For real.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that would be called a scam.
Yeah.
OnlyFans is a scam.
And that's why agencies are so hush hush
Yeah.
because
Like, how
that
do you guys pull that off as an agency? Isn't it fraud? It's fraud, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, there
I
must
shouldn't
be a
laugh,
work.
but
I
I
mean,
think
sure
so.
they have lawyers that word out the small print somewhere
Well, that's the thing.
to cover your
The
butts, but
uh,
yeah.
don't know because that's what I wondered that too. This is the thing, like it's pimping. It's just online pimping, so it has to be
Yeah.
illegal. And so that's the wild thing
Mm.
is it was so when I
It's a gray area though, right?
gray area because
Yeah.
people like, oh, but there's a demand. They need someone to, service their account. They need to make sure there's people on there, like, talking to these people. You need to make money. So that's why we come in. We're a solution to the problem, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then for the agency that I was at, because it was all female run and everything like that, there's a terminology that one of the owners would use. So I don't know if you have them over in Canada, but they're called safe injecting rooms here in Australia. And so people, yeah, that are drug addicts and stuff, they can go
I
to a.
know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And so basically, one of the owners would say that our agency is like a safe injecting room. People are going to do porn anyways. They need somewhere safe to do it. And so we give them the ability to be able to do it somewhere safe. And like looking back now, you're like, this is crazy. But when you're in it and everyone's doing it, everyone says it's okay, and you have trusted people in your circle, like it's
Yeah.
such a brainwashing thing, to be honest.
Mm.
And I think
Mm.
a lot of people in society are brainwashed. And then, yes, people that think OnlyFans, they're talking to someone, they're brainwashed because you're not even talking to the girl, you're talking to some chatter that's overseas that gets paid minimum wage to sit there. And like we would have to, so just to circle back,
Yeah.
and I was doing all of the marketing. Then what had happened was is it went from doing all of the marketing to I was actually me doing all the marketing. There was another manager who was running all of the OnlyFans accounts.
Mm.
And so then we saw that there was a disconnect because you're impersonating someone. Um, if whatever was said on Instagram or whatever, I wasn't able to relay that to the people on OnlyFans or OnlyFans, what's happening on OnlyFans to social media. So then that's how there's holes in your story. So then people can piece together if it's you or if it's not.
Right.
And so we realized that we needed to encompass all of that in the full life cycle. So then instead of like having all the girls and you're doing all their marketing and the other person's doing all their OnlyFans, we split it in half.
Okay.
And then I was doing uh like half the girls, but I was doing all their OnlyFans and their marketing as well. And so
Okay.
that's when you start to see everything. But then also one of your roles and responsibilities is to watch the chatters chat and to watch what they say and
Mm.
publish and watch their sales and could they make more money here? Could they do that? And once a week, we would have a sales meeting with them and basically go through what was done well and what needed improvement from the previous week. So this was like a full like scam. Like, yeah, literally, like
Yeah.
that's
And what are the chatters selling exactly?
so they're selling the girls content on their behalf.
Okay. But aren't the people already subscribed?
So what happens is you can subscribe, but that doesn't mean so the allure of OnlyFans, you know how she said I reply to all my DMs? It's because you can converse with her on OnlyFans. So you've got your like feed where you see content, but where you make the money is in the individual conversations that you have. So these subscribers will subscribe to have individual conversations with the girl.
Which
And
is really a worker in the Philippines.
yes.
Uh-huh.
And so that's the whole allure of OnlyFans is it was like we're decentralizing porn. We're giving you this access to the girl one-on-one so you can have an intimate relationship with her, unlike
Right.
traditional porn, where
Right.
you just go and you have nothing and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. But what people don't understand is that's not what's happening. You're not fostering this
Hmm.
authentic relationship with someone.
Hmm.
90% of the time it's some rando in some random country talking to you.
So would you, after you subscribe, pay more money for so many minutes of chatting or?
So it's not done per that. It's these things called paid per views. And so there's a couple aspects you can do. So a paid per view is basically every single day or every second day or whatever you do, depending on the girl, you would tailor make these things called paid per views. And so you would send out locked content. So imagine I sent you a picture
Oh,
and yeah, it's got like a little lock on it, and then I have a
yeah.
price on it. So then
Oh,
you'd
okay.
pay for that. But then what
Right.
you'd want to do is you'd want to engage that sub in like sexting. And so
Right.
if you could do paid per view, then they buy the pay per view and then they get talking. Then that's how you can do custom requests. Or what you would do is they have this thing called a vault. And in the vault, they have bulk content in there. And so you're chatting with them and, you're getting them worked up and whatever. And then they're like, oh, I want to see this. And they're like, okay. And so it's like they just took a picture, but you actually have it in their vault and then you can send it to them and then they can pay it, they can unlock it, and then it continues on and on.
Wow. Oh,
Does that make
wow.
sense?
Oh, yeah. It gets pretty
Yeah.
elaborate, eh? This is well
Yeah.
thought out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a full, like people think that it's just like this innocent little thing, and you just not like, no, it's sex work. It's full conversing with people and in the hopes to make as much money as possible from individuals by selling them
Yeah.
pornographic content.
And just to be clear, I mean, I don't want to get too graphic, but just to be clear, there's women, when we say create content, it's a nice sounding euphemism for uh, full nudity, masturbating with vibrators, doing different sex acts with other people. I also know that that happens where they create content, meaning they have sex in front of the camera. So they're making
Yeah.
porn, basically, right?
Yeah, I think that
Hmm.
it's been this weird fluff word, and I know I fall into the bad habit of using it. But yes, creating content literally means creating pornography. And
Right.
like this isn't even just sometimes like there's different levels. Like at the agency, we had a level system. So when you
Okay.
onboard a girl,
Yeah.
and when you would onboard a girl, you'd do the marketing requirements, you'd already have your call, you would create this thing called a brief. And so the brief is what you would
Okay.
give to the chatter because it's basically a description of the girl and how you can best represent her. And so, what you would do in the brief is there's these things called levels. And so, what level are you at? And so, level one was like Instagram content. So, I just post like cheeky lingerie and bikini photos. Level two was implied nude. So, like the ones that we saw on Anna's, more so her
Mm.
Twitter and stuff, implied nude. Then, level three would be full nudity, and then all the other things that you can get into. Then level four would be like you do everything but anal. And then level five is you just do everything. It doesn't matter. There's no rules, no bounds. I'll do anything. And so
Okay.
you'd have to pick what level you wanted. And then as well, what happened at the agency is we ended up getting rid of level one. I was the one that came up with that idea. I was like, what's the
Oh,
point of having level one? Yeah, that's how I know how predatory it is because I was like, we were seeing that girls that we brought onto the agency that were only at level one. Well, why would they pay for your OnlyFans when they can just go on your Instagram and see that content for free?
it's there already
So
for free, right?
yeah, it was too much work. So I was like, why don't we just get rid of level one and then we don't have
Yeah.
girls that can even click level one. You don't even have an option to be level one anymore.
Right.
You have to start at this level of extreme as soon as you come into the agency. Even if you didn't,
Mm.
you don't have an option. So this is how again people think, just to circle back to it and harp on it, but that you have choices that you can control your boundaries, you can this, but it's like if you hadn't even had an OnlyFans and then we recruited you, you don't even get to tell us what your comfortability level is because we give you these levels. We tell you what it is. And this is your baseline of where you start. You don't have another option. Like, that's so wrong.
Wow. Okay, that's all really interesting. Let's change direction to what you started see. I think everyone kind of gets the idea, what you did. Okay. Oh, and
Yeah.
by the way, how did the agency make money? Was it just a split? 60
Um,
40, 80 20?
so they would take a certain percentage from the girls' gross earnings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was the percentage? Do you remember?
It can vary. There wasn't like a specific one, but it can be anywhere from like at some agencies like 15, 20. Some agencies take 50%. It just depends. There's not like a super industry standard, it's just whatever
Okay.
the agent.
Whatever you can negotiate with her, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about what you started to see and your eyes because I've talked with you a little bit before, so I know a bit about your
Hmm.
story, but sort of the eyes starting to open and seeing what's going on, and then what led you to get out. So let's share about some of that.
Yeah, so basically, once I started actually seeing everything on the OnlyFans platform, that's
Hmm.
when I was, oh my gosh, for me, yeah, I didn't really have any education at all as to what this was, what's OnlyFans. I was very
Mm.
much guise of, this weird enigma of you can make money on it and all of that. And so when I actually started to get onto the OnlyFans platform and seeing all the content and seeing the conversations and stuff, I got really, really uncomfortable. And I've never even personally like been exposed to porn. Like I've never watched it. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and so it was really confronting for me. I was like, whoa, like this is
Mm.
on. And so
Did you
I
realize there was porn on OnlyFans? Like, did you get that?
honestly, like, yes and no. Like, it sounds so
Okay.
silly, but I guess because this is why I harp on so much about how important your circle is. Because for me, the person who had started the agency was a very, very close friend to me. And so it's like if you
Mm.
trust that person in your circle, and then the other two people that were in the agency as owners, they were already in the industry. And so you'd look at them and you would go, okay, these girls came from poorer backgrounds. They didn't have very much growing up. Now they are
Mm.
famous, they're rich. It seems like whatever this OnlyFans thing is, it's a positive. And then you hear just rumors, oh, it's content creation again. It's you can sell your feet on there, or like whatever. So I didn't really understand what it was. I just knew that
Okay.
it was a different type of content, but like, it seemed like a positive. The people around me were already doing it or saying that this is okay. That's my trusted circle, therefore this is
Mm.
fine. And so that's as deep as I guess the analysis went.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there wasn't really much to it. And so then when I started seeing all the content on the actual platform, and one of the girls that I was managing and in charge of, I guess you could say, um, she looked so much like one of my little nieces. I was like, if when my
Mm.
niece grows up, I would look at this girl and I'm like, my niece is going to look like that when she's older. And that's just what I kept thinking. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if she did this, I would be distraught. I'd be devastated.
Mm.
And then one day I just went, and like I was getting really upset. Like I was crying every day. I couldn't open up the laptop. I couldn't get onto the back end of the platform and watch things and all of that. And then I just remember one day looking at this girl and I just went, that's someone's niece. Like it sounds so silly. Like you know how you said you look at someone like an object? It's like they went from being an object to being a human.
Right.
And this moment it just was like, that's a human. And I was like, oh
Mm.
my gosh. And so it took me actually like getting out of my circle to understand and have someone tell me that, hey, yes, this is wrong. And it just, even at the agency, I started asking people, like other employees, I guess you could say, like, do you think this is wrong? Like, what do you think? And people would say, well, yeah, it's pretty cooked, but I actually don't want to do this for forever, like, work in an OnlyFans agency, but I know how much money I can make here. So this is like my stepping stone to do what I want to do. So it's like, okay, I'll make as much money off these girls and then I'll go do what I want to do. And then other people would be like, yeah, but I just turned a blind eye to it, or I, bury my
No.
head in this. It is what it is.
Right, right.
Like it
So there
was
was a
just sort of,
real glaring lack of authenticity there in the industry,
Mhm.
wasn't there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
people don't care. Like that's another thing. Like people think that like especially agencies like the one where I was at, like if you honestly think that if you work in porn that people care about you, like they care about you making them money. And if you don't make them money anymore, then you're not relevant to them anymore.
100%.
Like it's just a matter of the fact, unfortunately. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, for me, I just started to get really uncomfortable, really sad, really worked up, and feeling really guilty. And so I was like, I didn't know what to do, like with all these
Mm.
emotions. And I was like, maybe I have to go do something good to offset all the bad that I'm doing.
Get some
And then
good
that,
karma built up, right?
yeah, like that'll make me feel better. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And then I was building a medicinal cannabis company as well at that time. And that was my dream.
That was
And
your
so I was
dream. Okay.
yeah, and I was building that with one of the owners at the OnlyFans agency. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go volunteer. Let's go help some refugees.
Okay.
And we settled about, I don't know where that came from, but I was like, I'm gonna go overseas. I'm gonna go help some refugees. That's gonna make me feel better. And then I'll come
Mm.
back with it and I'll just grind through this OnlyFans agency stuff because our medicinal cannabis company will launch very soon. And then I'll be doing that and I don't have to.
Mm.
So that was my train of thought. And so what had happened is I was like, oh, I had this weird thought. And I was like, I remembered that my childhood church used to have like this thing called World Impact. And so you could like help refugees. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna sign up for that. And then
Okay.
and so it ended up leading me to hearing someone speak at church. And so, like, the first time I'd come back to church in like 10 years, and this person hadn't been at church in 10 years. And yeah, I ended up hearing them speak. And you know her, Melinda Tankard Reese.
Oh, it was
Um,
Melinda.
yeah, it was Melinda that
Yes.
I heard
Yeah.
speak.
Hmm.
And her message was just so impactful. And she was talking about the dangers of this over sexualized world, how things like OnlyFans impacts children, what
Oh,
this does
yeah.
to youth and all of that. And I remember just sitting there being like, oh my gosh, like,
Hmm.
yes, yes, like you're confirming everything that I felt. And it was like, it just took someone to say it so harshly for me to be like, yes. And
Wow.
so,
Perfect
yeah,
timing too. Like the exact message at the exact time that
yeah,
you needed.
honestly, crazy, hey, like just the
Mm.
way that worked. And so after she spoke, I ran down to her and I was like, "Hi, my name's Victoria. I work for an OnlyFans agency and I hate myself." And she goes, "Yeah, I just word vomited it. I just couldn't help it." And it was just this thing inside me that was like, "You need to go down, you need to tell her," like type of thing. And so I literally was like up in the balcony, and when she finished speaking, I literally ran.
Ran all the way down. It was like right,
Yeah.
it was like a confession for you, wasn't it?
Honestly, yeah, it was
Hmm.
just, and this is why now I care so much about educating because Melinda's like,
Yeah.
let's have lunch. And so we had lunch together. And all of my naive questions, all of my, like, I even said to her, it's a safe injecting heroin room. Like, I said that. And
Hmm.
she's like, it's not. And I was like, but what do you mean? How isn't it? Aren't these people going to, like, I was so confused.
Mm.
But just by her sitting there with me, taking that time, answering my questions, being honest and being truthful, and not shaming me either, and being like, how dumb are
Mm.
you? How couldn't like she just answered
Right.
my questions.
Yep.
That was on a Sunday, and that Friday I quit the agency and walked away from everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, had you seen, behind the scenes at this point of like what the content was, what girls were actually doing
Yeah,
on their
I saw
OnlyFans
everything.
account? So you were, eyes wide open. I'm recruiting girls into the porn industry,
Yeah.
basically, is what you realized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was just, yeah, as soon as I jumped onto that OnlyFans back end and I started to see everything, saw the conversations, what content creation actually is and what that means. And
Hmm.
then I started to really observe what we were actually doing, and started to
Hmm.
really like, this is wrong. Like,
Hmm.
we can't be doing this. This is really, it's evil. And then
Hmm.
especially when it started to get, as we spoke about before, like the younger, the better. And so when we
Hmm.
started to look for young girls and like all of that, I'm just like, this is predatory. This is grooming. Like, this is wrong. Like, and so, yeah, again, though, it took someone from outside my circle to actually help me understand that, and just like this counter cultural narrative for, me to have that aha moment and yeah, just never look back.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Wow. So interesting. I know that there are a very small percentage of women that make a lot of money, right? On
Yes.
OnlyFans.
Oh my gosh, it is crazy. I saw a study, and this was back in 2021. In 2021, there's 2.1 million content creators on OnlyFans, and only 300 of them make more than a million a year. Like, the average wage is 140 USD a month
Right.
on OnlyFans. Like, that's crazy.
Right. Yeah. So you're selling your soul for 150 bucks a month, basically.
Literally. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand either. And that's why I think sometimes some basic facts and statistics are so helpful, because it's like there's this allure again of this luxury, this eliteness, this lifestyle. And it's like, actually, the people that have that are this big. And so then out of all the people that are on there, you're doing all these horrible things. And I couldn't imagine if you were some young girl and you joined up to OnlyFans thinking, oh, I'm going to make all this money, and you make nothing, and you're like, oh, well, then what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? What's wrong with my face? I must be less
Right.
than,
Yeah.
lacking because I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. And then I can't imagine how that stems into other things. Like, I think people think that OnlyFans is here and the sex industry is here,
Hmm.
but they are the exact same thing. It is
Hmm.
a web of the exact same thing. So if you do prostitution, if you're a stripper, if you're a topless waitress, if you escort, if you whatever, it is the exact same as being an OnlyFans sex worker.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so I
and many
was,
of them have OnlyFans accounts. Like all the porn stars will have them. A lot of the
yeah.
escorts will have them, right? And another way that this can haunt you forever is you create content. Let's say you come into this as a woman, you create a bunch of content. After a year, you realize this is a terrible mistake. That stuff's out there forever. You will never get that back. And I'm pretty sure in the small print, OnlyFans owns all the content. Am I right?
Oh wow, I wouldn't be surprised at that. I
Right.
guess you're uploading it to their platform. It's their, you
I
know.
can pretty much guarantee you that that's a fact. Because
Yeah, wow.
there's I hear all the time from former porn stars, I read about it, that their websites that generated millions and millions of dollars, they make no money from because their managers own it, or their former managers own their websites. So they
It
have
doesn't
all this explicit sexual material out there for the rest of their life that they can never take down, and they make no money from it. That sounds like exploitation to me.
absolutely. Like there was
Right.
a very big OnlyFans star over in America. I can't remember her name, but I can find it. And she's been putting up this like live dialogue of the fact that she's now come into her faith and completely walks out against OnlyFans now. And she's like, I'm trying to get my account shut down. And she shows
No.
the email. She's like, but they won't shut it down. There's people that are still paying on the account. And so, as you said, they're still getting money from her content. And then she's like, I've deleted the file, I've this, I've that, but they won't take it down. Like,
Mhm.
this is a real reality. Like,
Yep.
I don't think people, and that's why as well, I don't think young girls, when they see these big stars and they see this, like, again, that person we just put up, like, look at her life. It's like this cutesy little fun girly. And so that's what they think doing
Mm.
OnlyFans is. And then it's
Yeah.
like, as soon as you go click through that link, as we saw on her Twitter, it's a very different story.
Mhm.
And that's what you have to do, like, to get onto that platform. It's
Mhm.
not, I'm going to be fun, cutesy, and girly and then have this mad life.
Yeah.
There's a real consequence to this.
And did you see women who were pushed beyond their boundaries or their values to create more extreme content, and then, sorry, and then,
This,
regret that and feel traumatized by doing that, and then end up
um,
leaving? Or like what are some crazy stories you heard of crazy requests or crazy things that happened? Can you think of anything?
So one story that comes to my mind just when you talk about like this whole theme that we're saying of like regret is there was one girl that was very big on OnlyFans here in Australia and made it like a decent amount of money, but not like, baller stats.
Mm.
And but she ended up, it took her about, I think, 5, 6 years to get to that point. And she hated doing OnlyFans by the
She hated
time
it.
I
Mm.
would
Okay.
have anxiety about it, didn't want to do it anymore. I was like, I feel sick when I have to do this stuff. Like, I just hate it.
Mm.
So it's
Mm.
it. And so I sat down with her and I was like, okay, if that's how you feel, let's get you more involved in the agency side of things. What are you good at? Could you be a manager? Could you do this? Could you do that? Like, blah, blah, blah. And she looked at me and she goes, I'm good at being a hot CUNT. And I was like, nah, come on. And she goes, nah, Vic, that's it. I'm not good at anything else. I can't do anything. And I was like, that's so sad.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you think. But as you said, like it just slowly destroys people. But then if you don't make enough money, so just say if you don't make enough money to retire,
Hmm.
and maybe you make $2 million, but you're just on 30, that's not enough money to take you into forever.
Hmm.
And so if you hate doing this work and you hate what else are you supposed to do? It would be so hard to be this massive social media personality and then what, go get a corporate job and your porn's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
Not gonna
I
happen.
and so what are you going to do? And then what, you've had this elite lifestyle for how many years? And then, yeah, you're going to go grind and work hard. Like, you're not going to do that. So then you're caught in this trap of, I have to continue to do this type of work. Or
Hmm.
maybe I don't want to do OnlyFans anymore. I'll go escort for a little bit, go to Dubai, see
Mm.
billionaires, make some cash doing that, and then come back.
And then
And
hate
so
yourself even more.
yeah, and then hate yourself even more. And so they're more so the crazy stories, I guess, that impact me the most. And then there was another girl at one of our launch parties that we had, the first one, and she ended up sleeping with this guy who had a very big Instagram following. And the next morning, she's like, "Oh, should I post it? Should I not?" Like, she made a sex tape with him, and is like, "Oh, that means I could really break out into the American fan base there. Do I do it? Do I not? Should I?" But I'm like, you're contemplating, do you post this? But you went and happily had sex with someone and filmed it in the hopes that this guy would put it on his account or that you could post it because he has a big following in America and then you would get a big following. Like, are you kidding? And then it turned out a couple months later, I heard that I don't think she's even in the industry anymore because she realized that like it made her feel disgusting. And it's like, well, what are the consequences? Like you've just now done, imagine if you did post that everywhere and this guy had like 1 million followers on Instagram. Like it's stuff like that that I think is really sad.
What did you hear about the verbal abuse and threats that women received from their subscribers or their fans? Anything?
There was one guy, like we had to block one guy on a girl's account, because he wasn't happy with the custom request that was given to him. And then he felt like he was like stitched up type of thing. But it's super common. Like again, as you said, these men come in with a sense of entitlement because I'm
Mm,
paying for this. This is what I want. Like, there's like one of the common things like as requests was like write your subscriber's name on your stomach and stuff like that. And it's like, so these people think they own you. Of
mm,
course they're going to be
interesting.
aggressive. Of course they're going to be, abusive and, harsh with you. And if you don't do what you want them to do, they'll first do like, oh, please, I would love it if you could do that for me. And then, we would write back, we're not comfortable. That's not, oh, come on, like just for me. Like,
More
and then if that's,
insistent.
yeah, then they get aggressive. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a very common, like narrative.
Mhm. All right. Well, this has been so interesting. Let's wrap up with this. What would you say to a young woman who's watching this and is thinking of launching her career on OnlyFans? What would you say to her?
I would say to her, honestly, let's talk about before you go do OnlyFans. This is how I think about this now, and this is what, so it's a bit of a long-winded answer. It's a hard one because
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead.
I feel like if you're already at that point where you're like, yep, tomorrow I'm opening up the account, there is something within you that has been like your margin for error. So what has happened from you being this girl that is like innocent and doesn't, have this baggage in her heart of thinking that she needs this validation to going, I'm going to open an OnlyFans. There's something that's happened, a margin for error. And so what I would love is if that's where you're at, sit down with yourself and go,
Mm,
let's reflect very quickly on my why. What is my why? Why do I want to
mm,
do this? And
mm,
so if you can sit there and just go, okay, well, I want to open up an OnlyFans. Why? Well, I want money. Why? Well, because I don't have any money. Like, why? Well, I'm in a really bad situation. Well, couldn't I just work hard? Why do I want to, like, why? And if you sit there and you just keep going down that why route, you can get to the root cause of why you're doing something.
mm.
And that's really powerful because people might just impulse, they'll do this, they'll do that. And then when you can sit there and you go, okay, well, the actual reason I'm doing OnlyFans is not because I'm struggling for money and because I need to get out of a bad situation, but it's
Mm,
actually because I don't feel good in myself. I don't have validation. And I see these girls and it puts up a mirror to my
mm.
insecurities. So I think that if I do OnlyFans, it'll fix my instant. And then you're like, whoa. And then when you can have that knowledge and that understanding of what you're doing and your driving factors behind it, then you can just
Yes.
make an informed decision. And so
Hmm.
unfortunately, if you decide that you want to continue on with it, like, but I feel that when people come to that genuine realization in their hearts of the authentic reasons why they're doing something, they
Yeah.
tend to not do the bad thing. Like if you're like, I want to have a drink, and then you
Hmm.
think about it, you're like, oh, you know what? It's because of that reason. I better not.
Yeah.
That would be my advice to anyone that is thinking about jumping on the platform. Um, is just sit with yourself for 10 minutes, even put a timer on your phone and just go, why, and see if you
Mm,
can get to that root cause. And
hmm.
then if you can get to that root cause, like try your best to do something to correct and help heal whatever that
Hmm.
is that you figure out is your root cause.
Yeah.
Would be my biggest suggestion.
Right. Well, no, that's wonderful. And I think I would just add to that by sort of summing up our conversation that if you're a woman who's thinking of getting into this, it's not what it appears. You're
Mm,
entering a corruptive, exploitative industry that does not care about you, that's full of players acting in bad faith, fraud, scam, manipulation, coercion, and exploitation.
yeah,
So if that sounds like a direction you want to go with in your life, then you found it. Go ahead.
yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
But that's what you're actually getting into here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't agree more or said it like any
Yeah.
better. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Victoria, for sharing your experience. And I see you on Instagram and TikTok. I follow you, and I try to throw a like in there once in a while because I see you're speaking up about this, and that's really great. I think it's important, and I want to encourage you to keep doing that and giving that valuable perspective because you know, if you save 10 girls or 20 or 50 from making a really horrible decision, you're going to impact some lives and make a difference.
Yeah, thank you so much. I
Mm.
appreciate it. But yes,
Yeah.
and I have yeah, if anyone does want to, yeah, follow my TikTok or my Instagram, I try to put out as much information as possible. And then as well, I have just for what tongue tied. I have just officially launched as well, like my offering. So I actually do workshops where I talk about all of this and I talk about all my other experiences as well. And I
Okay,
just
good.
offer really, really practical advice, things that are able to be implemented immediately, especially for young girls, high school girls, and for young women. So yeah, that just launched literally like yesterday. So it's called
Oh,
Creating Gen.
good. Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what you know needs to be brought to every high school in the country.
Yeah.
And
So
to talk to all the girls there and guys. I think this is great for guys to know too. Like it's great for guys to know you're being fleeced, scammed, taken advantage
Mhm.
of. You're chatting with someone, in a sweatshop in the Philippines. It's all based on misrepresentation, fraud, and a manipulation of your childish adolescent desires and lack of self-control and self-delusion,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like this is a boy and girl problem. You know what I mean? Like this isn't just like a singular gendered issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll sign off. Don't hang up because I want to say goodbye to you, but we'll end the podcast interview part of it now. So thanks again, Victoria, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.